Frustration is inherent to Nuzlocking. There's a melancholy baked into the very concept itself. Much like a marathon, or your first love, or walking around the kitchen at night and hitting your hip on the side of the counter, it's rare for a Nuzlocke to come without at least some pain attached. As someone with a career in Nuzlocking, I know about this built-in trial, and I love it. The emotional investment it creates, the push-pull of strategic victory versus bitter loss, and the satisfaction that comes from gritting your teeth and powering through the lows. A Nuzlocke without a little bit of suffering is like a Sour Patch Kid without the sour. All you got at that point is a bag of chewy sweets moderately shaped like children, and I'd rather be eating bears, or fish, or worms. Or sometimes, the more frustrating the game, the more valuable the reward. Keeping tilt in check is part of the task of being a good Nuzlocker. If you let your emotions rule you, you'll be spending more time in the back of a truck than actually playing the game. And as fun as it can be to watch someone lose their mind, too much of a bad attitude quickly spoils the overall experience. At the end of the day, I'm an entertainer, a dancing monkey, but a monkey that deeply cares about the dance that he's performing. I want my content to be good and fun. I always strive to put my best foot forward. So there's a balancing act to showing the good and the bad, and in general, I'm pretty proud of how I handle this. But a while back, I played a game where I lost that balance, where the frustration overpowered the desire to win. I can tell you all the reasons. It was December, I was burnt out, I came into the experience with some bad memories, and sure, there were maybe even a few things about the actual game itself. This is the ROM hack that broke me. Nah, just kidding. That video is still in the slow cooker, but I promise you it's coming.
Don't make promises you can't keep, Mr. Parker.
Those are the best kind.
This is the ROM hack that actually broke me. More than any other game ever has, yes, even that other one. The basic concept of Pokémon Garbage Gold Deluxe is that you can only use extremely bad Pokémon, and to really keep the power level at rock bottom, the level caps are probably the lowest I've ever seen in a ROM hack ever. The game also comes with brand new level up movesets and a rebalancing for certain moves by making good ones worse and lowering PP on things like setup moves to thwart mindless sweeps. Now, I think this is a really cool idea. Nuzlocke originated around the idea of making you use Pokemon you usually never give a second look to. This just takes that to the next level with a fun tongue-in-cheek twist, that one man's treasure is another's trash. And boy does the game immediately hammer that trash theme home. From the instant I load this game, Professor Rowan tells me that we're in a world populated by weak creatures known as Pokemon. Our first level cap is a measly level 6, and the very first Pokemon we hear about is undergoing physical therapy for its injuries from the war. Wait, war? What is this? The first half of Tolstoy's New York Times best-selling novel soon to be adapted into a major motion picture starring Tom Holland and Mikey Madison? Well, in Garbage Gold, the lore is that the same great war between Kanto and Hoenn that left Lieutenant Surge, a PTSD'd husk of a man that threatens children, has also left the Pokemon in Johto as conscientious objectors, intentionally stunting their own power level so that they don't get drafted. That's how the game explains that certain Pokemon won't evolve, which is also why we have Rowan, the specialist in evolution, instead of Elm, who presumably got Saving Private Ryan somewhere off the coast of Olivine City. I can't show you the scene here because YouTube, but you know which one I'm talking about. Seeing that uncensored in 10th grade history class does things to a young boy. Arizona public schools are a hell of a drug. But speaking of Rowan, it's time to give him a visit, and from the moment I step outside, it's clear that while we may be in a garbage-filled, war-torn world, you can really tell the care that went into creating this game. In fact, it's the very first thing I said when I saw it back in my race.
Whoa! Holy shit, this place is beautiful!
Oh, that's right. This actually isn't my first time playing Garbage Gold. See, a few months earlier, a few of my fellow Nuzlockers and I competed in a race to commemorate the ROM hack's release. And I was having a grand old time, definitely in a winning position, don't check that, just trust me, when suddenly...
Shit.
My game crashed, and from there on out, things were an unmitigated disaster. I hadn't saved even once. I was racing to be as fast as I can. There's no time to save, so as a result, I was forced to desperately speed through the start of the game to the point of the crash before ultimately wiping and dropping out of the race. I was playing so fast and the crash was so frustrating that I really don't remember much about the game, but I do mention all this to admit that I'm entering this playthrough with a tiny chip on my shoulder. Hi, I'm Chip! That said, I still think that New Barktown is gorgeous and even features a very unsuspicious new and improved vagrant teenager to replace our old and significantly lamer vagrant teenager.
Oh, hey, En. What's up, buddy? What are you doing?
The answer, of course, is crime. Since the usual starters are Pokénapped, I'm left with a choice of paltry bug types, and so I turn it over to chat for a poll.
All right, you guys, you got 2 minutes. Oh my god, 13 votes right away for Kricketot. Wow, the Kricketot contingents came out strong, but now there's a groundswell for Caterpie and Weedle. Oh, now it's close between Caterpie and Kricketot. Oh my god, Caterpie has overtaken Kricketot. Weedle left in the dust. Kricketot coming back. Caterpie up by 2. The largest lead so far. Kricketot in shambles. They're in shambles. Weedle's still gaining some momentum, but it looks like this is a 2-man race now. Caterpie and Kricketot neck and neck now at 24 each. Suddenly, Kricketot has gained the lead again. Did Caterpie overexert itself? Does Kricketot have enough to finish the job? Kricketot is just maintaining the lead still. Can Caterpie do the unexpected? Can Caterpie overcome the heavy favorites? Caterpie, Kricketot tied going into the last 30 seconds. Folks, if you haven't voted yet, go, 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 go. Vote, vote, vote. Pokemon, go to the polls. Caterpie or Kricketot. Don't throw your vote away on Woodell. Focus, Caterpie, Kricketot. Which do you want? Last 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the winner by just 1 vote, Kricketot. Caterpie takes the Electoral College. Oh, look, Maricopa County came in late.
Now, as much as I wanted Caterpie and its eventual HP restoring Mega Drain, for the first time in the history of my channel, I decided to honor the democratically selected choice. So with that, we pick up Tater-Tot the Kricketot, who my mother immediately insults. Rude. Well, now it's time for our first catch. But first, a quick message from the sponsor of this video, Raycon. Has this ever happened to you? You're out walking through the snow, listening to girly pop through some random pair of earbuds that are drowning out all the noise around you when suddenly little Isaac whirls a snowball straight at your head. Had you been able to hear the snowball whirling through the air, you would have used your cat-like reflexes to dodge the snowball, but instead, you've been got. So you have to retaliate. In your haste, lest little Isaac flee the scene without retribution, you forget to regulate your strength and you launch a snowball directly at little Isaac with the full force of your rippling muscles. With such force, the snowball instantly shatters little Isaac's femur. He collapses to the ground, but because you cannot hear him for you still have your darned earbuds in, you simply continue on your walk. So you're charged with child endangerment and fleeing the scene of a crime, sentenced to 6 months in prison and forced to pay for little Isaac's extensive physical therapy. If only you had earbuds that didn't block out everything around you. If only you had gotten a pair of Raycon's essential open earbuds with their open ear design that makes them sit just outside your ear canal so that you can listen to crystal clear sound while still being privy to little Isaac's screams. I use my open earbuds pretty much every day, whether it's when I'm walking Poppy and need to listen for traffic, when I'm working out and need to listen for traffic, or when I'm lounging around the house and need to listen for traffic. It's also why I haven't been sentenced to prison for child endangerment. The same cannot be said about Zygarde XY though. It was an accident. I have terrible depth perception. The essential open earbuds also feature a multi-angular hook for secure placement, 36 hours of battery life with their charging case, and they're just a fraction of the price of competing brands. Plus, now's the perfect time to get your grubby little mitts on a pair because in honor of the Winter Olympics, go Finland, the essential open earbuds are here to help you go for gold. Head to buyraycon.com/flagonopen to get 15% off. Thanks so much to Raycon for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to the challenge. Our first encounter and our second teammate is none other than Boba the Azurill, who's Not great, all things told. She doesn't even get huge power in this game, though I suppose I should have expected that. From there, it's over to Bug's bedspread. I'm pretty sure there's a whole thing about how you don't want bugs in your bed, but maybe that rule doesn't apply when they're the size of puppies and can cuddle you at night. Case in point, Crunchwrap the Sweet Whittle Venipede is the next member of our junk food squad. Next, we head north to Rocky Haven and pick up Nugget the Roggenrola, who seems to be our best member yet.
A hard stone? And he's adamant? Yo, Nugget the goat. Just don't have weak armor. Shoot!
With that, these are our core 4 for the fight against the very first gym leader. Wait a minute, what? The first gym leader already? Well, kind of. See, our very first trainer battle is actually against Brock, who apparently has been thrown on a blood-seeking revenge path after the destruction of his homeland. But that grim lore drop isn't the worst surprise here.
Oh shit, this is the double battle?
Despite the unexpected double battle, how could I have possibly known that? This is a cakewalk. Tater Tot might be weak to rock, but she has Absorb, and combined with Boba, plus a healthy level advantage, the two make a happy meal out of Brock's rocks. After that, we collect all our items, which amounts to exactly
1 stinking Oranberry?
And head to Cherry Grove City, ready to meet the inhabitants of this once thriving city.
Oh shit, wait, crap. Do I have to fight this guy now? Shoot!
Thankfully, this surprise isn't too bad, and might have filched all 3 Johto starters, but they're no match for our squad of 2 bugs, a rock, and a crying mouse bunny thing. Tater Tot's Absorb handles Totodile just fine, and though I forgot that Boba is not a water type, she tanks a burn that lets Nugget handle Cyndaquil. Crunchwrap, with his 4x resistance, makes quick work of Chikorita, even with her held Oranberry, so that's another battle down. Now it's time to explore Cherry Grove, whose residents are a little off. Some of them have even holed up in the local mart. But who needs Pokemarts, because we've got Pokemon to catch. And the game does give you a generous amount of balls, though I obviously only need 1. We had a second fairy type in Cinnabon the Igglybuff, and our first water type in McDouble the Binacle, who by the way is our 3rd Laxmon out of 6. Anyways, up on the rugged road, we add the docile Hotwing. So far, I'm enjoying this game quite a bit, even though everyone I meet does everything they can to remind me of their low opinions.
A useless bug? I see. Rowan must have really disliked you. Oh, this game is something else.
From here, I earn an egg, reluctantly report a teenager's crime to the police, get negged by my mom again, and that brings us to our next trainer battle, Youngster Joey. This is another double battle, and though Joey opens up with a fearsome double tail whip strategy to threaten big damage, our rock types dispatch him pretty easily. I wonder what happened to his top percentage Rattata. Anyways, next up is Youngster Mikey. His lead Spearow is more McDouble fodder, so that swiftly brings out Pichu. I'm thinking that Nugget can handle this literal pipsqueak pretty easy when all of a sudden... Now, so far, for the first 3.5 battles, this game has been the cakewalk you would expect from the first 3.5 battles of a Pokemon game, but Pichu has jolted me to attention. I switched to Crunchwrap, whose Strugel can stem the bleeding, but... What the crap, Pichu? This Pichu's out of control, man! Now I have to rely on Tater Tot, and while Strugel helps us survive, that does still mean we're dead to a crit. Unfortunately, I don't see another way out. So Pichu attacks...
Don't, Tater Tot, don't. Tater Tot!
No crit, but no KO for me either, so now I have to switch again and subject another Pokemon to some unwanted shockage.
Oh my god, this Pichu's destroying me, man!
Cinnabon finally removes the huge threat, but Mikey's still got a Zigzagoon left. A crucial Sweet Kiss puts me back into things, but I'm not doing great damage, and I am absolutely stressing.
I'm gonna throw up. This game is impossible.
What's more, Zigzagoon seemingly refuses to hit herself in confusion, but Boba's fairy typing comes in clutch against a pin missile, and as a result, we just barely make it out alive by the skin of our teeth. Clearly, I've been taking things too casually. I almost lost to a frickin' Pichu. If that doesn't tell you that everything in this game is a threat, I do not know what will. So I'm not making that same mistake for this next fight against Bugcatcher Dawn. I make sure to count the first matchup, and yep, Nugget should handle Spewpaw easily, OKOing him before he gets a chance to move thanks to a Hard Stone. Yeah, of course. Well, now, even though Nugget still takes out Donny Boy's first Pokemon, his Ladybah has a Charty Berry. If Nugget weren't paralyzed, I'd feel much safer here, but with a potential Supersonic coming my way, I risk getting trapped by Infestation and going down to some bad luck. So I choose to switch to Hot Wing, who does indeed take a Supersonic. Given the way things are going, I'm not the least bit surprised when Hot Wing immediately hits himself in confusion and Infestation traps us in. Now, Peck actually does big damage back, so all Hot Wing needs to do is break through confusion. If he can channel his inner youngster Mikey Zigzagoon, then we will be completely fine.
Hot Wing, please! You asshole! No, what?
Well, Crunchwrap cleans things up, but that was a total bummer, and probably an avoidable one. Knowing Ladybah had Supersonic, I probably could have just stayed in for a turn and ate the confusion with Nugget. Sloppy play from me, and a dead bird to show for it. After a touching eulogy for Hot Wing,
He showed up for one battle, sucked unbelievable shit, and died.
that's the end of the trainer battles for now, and I have a chance to pick up 2 more Pokemon. Garchomp's Glory has a 10% chance for Chinchou by fishing, but I'm instead greeted by Salad the Hoppip. Hey, at least that makes up for our recently deceased flying type, right? In the gloomy mines, I experience a bewildering sensation.
Wait, what? What just happened?
That automatic Trick Room may turn my stomach, but it doesn't dull my appetite for Whopper the Sandile, even though he takes 3 whole Ultra Balls to catch. Clearly, the normal powers of Dr. Wumball HG are restricted in this version of Johto. Nevertheless, it's good that we have Whopper, because our next challenge will be the biggest one yet. So far, we've only faced weak Pokemon at or even below our current level. But the next opponent is not just an evolved Pokemon, it's one of the fiercest and ugliest and dumbest ever made, and we're trespassing on his home turf. That's right, in the midst of the glory, we're facing down a Garchomp. I've been cautious about over-leveling so far, but I want to be safe, so I decide to go to level 4, which will hopefully help me avoid using an Oranberry in this fight. This Garchomp is built around wasting turns. His Sandstorm will whittle you down with Chip, and also activate his Sand Veil, which only gets worse when you consider the potential for Mud Slap accuracy drops. Add in Twister for flinch chances, and we're looking at a battle of attrition armed with pea shooters. Luckily though, some of those pea shooters are perfectly suited. Of the few things I remember from the race, this fight is one of them. Pretty hard to forget a level 4 Garchomp. But here's our strategy. We lead Whopper for an Intimidate. It's not as high value as you might think because this thing's only physical move is Scratch, but Whopper is also immune to Sandstorm and he's able to get off a nice Mud Slap. I switch into Boba here expecting a Twister, but Garchomp Mud Slaps instead, and that would normally be awful, though Boba does have a secret weapon. Thanks to Disarming Voice's perfect accuracy, we simply do not care about the fact that this Garchomp might as well be holding 2 Bright Powders. However,
that did nothing!
Nevertheless, Boba did her job. Garchomp's in the yellow, so Salad comes in on a Mud Slap as the Beast Sandstorm dies down, which makes me feel safer about going for a Stun Spore. It's not guaranteed because it could miss, but...
Boom! Huge! Huge, Salad, huge!
Now, even with the speed drop, Garchomp is still faster, though we can now just rotate between our flying and fairy types pretty safely. Cinnabon and Salad get the job done, and as the sickly Landshark falls, we've even safely spread around the massive chunk of HP that we've gotten in the process. Defeating Garchomp saves this guy from being gobbled up by its big fangs, and rewards us with a timely lore dump, in which we learn that Grovyle and Celebi are time traveling over from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon to figure out why everyone in this world is so pathetic. Crossover episode done for now, so we have another run-in with N. Thankfully this time he just has Oran berries, as well as a thinly veiled death threat. Mixed bag, I'd say. We exit the crossing, and Faulkner has seemingly replaced the first two letters of his name and become Volkner. Sinnoh's electric-type gym leader has orchestrated a hostile takeover of the town, which, yeah, looking at that type matchup, I'm not too surprised about. Violet City mostly comes with ominous warnings about bell-sprouty forces, whooshing noises, and swift green monsters to the west. Unfortunately, west is also where more encounters are. In this case, it's Hot Sauce the Slugma, following the legacy of a brother she never knew.
Marking him for death, are we?
Grimace the Toxel joins us in town, and we meet some other Pokemon with an unpleasant smile at the Pokemart.
Yeah, so I can't get potions.
That's important because next up, we've got a gauntlet. This will be a 7-trainer slog up Sprout Tower during which I cannot change my team or heal my Pokemon in between battles unless I use one of the few items I've accrued up to this point. This is easily the scariest thing in the game so far, other than the Ruins of Alph. No, not because of the talking Pokemon, but because this is where my game crashed last time. So fearing another, I make sure to rip a quick save before solving a difficult puzzle in record time and dropping into the ruins where I encounter Falafel the Muna. And as should be expected at this point, catching the dream-eating tapir is nothing short of a Herculean effort requiring more balls than a Chuck E. Cheese playpen.
Dude, I swear to freaking God, man, I'm this close to losing it with these guys.
Maybe it's the reminder of the last time I crashed here, but I am getting put on edge just a little. We hightail it out of the ruins to pick up a Wattrel named after the Panera lemonade that kills you in the Emerald Coastland, who's going to be very important for this upcoming gauntlet since most of my enemies will be grass types. On the first floor of the tower, the previously foreshadowed Bellsprouty Forest locks me in with no escape until I've made my way to the tippy top and kiss the ring of this prison's head honcho. Now, this gauntlet isn't just going to test my Pokemon's HP, it's also going to test their XP. See, Volkner's got a level cap of 6. If I'm not careful, I could easily overlevel someone and end up having to bench them until after the gym. But I also need my team at level 5 for enough power to survive these 7 battles. So in order to make it through without overleveling, I'm gonna need a plan that involves spreading the love. As for the recipients, my team is lemonade, salad, crunch wrap, falafel, hot sauce, and tater tot. A carefully assembled strike force that's certain to cause some upset tummies. Regardless of our nutritional value though, the important thing is that we've got a lot of grass type resistances. That's gonna be important because every battle in here has auto grassy terrain. With my team set, I head into the first battle, Lemonade in the lead. She's squaring off against a Budew, a good matchup if I've ever seen one, except that Budew lands a nasty poison on his way out. That's fine for this fight, Salad and Crunchwrap can clean things up, but it's really bad in the long run. Since switching in Lemonade mid-battle is gonna be hard with the consistent poison chip, I figure that we should just get all of her value out while we still can. So I lead with her against Sage Chow's Shroomish. A low roll and a crit mean that Lemonade's already tenuous situation is now hanging on by a thread, especially because she dings over to level 6. Crunchwrap does his signature wrap-up, but he also hits level 6, which means that I'm only 2 fights into this 7-fight gauntlet, and 2 of my best Pokemon are already on limited use, which is especially bad because next up, I've got a double battle. Luckily, this is why I have Falafel. He may be the only member of my strike force who doesn't resist grass-type attacks, but he can hit poison types for super effective damage. There may be 2 enemies here, but the choice is very simple.
Yep. Kill that. Don't really care what the Sunkern does. It's a Sunkern. I mean, Razor Leaf is not great, but especially in grassy terrain, but yeah, okay.
Sunkern's pitiful damage confirmed, we can target down the Hopeep slot, though again, there's an issue. See, Hopeep is going to Gust, which is damage I can't really take at this point. I don't have great switch-ins to flying type damage, except Lemonade. poisoned 7 HP Lemonade? Well, it turns out that, yeah, actually Lemonade is a really good switch here. I do the calcs and realize that Lemonade is actually safe. She'll only take 2 damage from Gust, and Sunkern's Razor Leaf does 2 damage on a crit. Poison Chip also does 2 damage, meaning that at 7 HP, she's always safe because 2 + 2 + 2 = 6, which is a smaller number than 7. And they say I'm wasting my biomedical engineering degree. Anyways, Lemonade actually ends up dodging damage altogether as Hapip chooses to absorb Falafel, meaning I'm free to Gust and Confusion for the KO against the living weed. Now at 2v1, I simply switch Lemonade out to Tater Tot and end the battle. Somehow I've managed to squeeze every last bit of value out of Lemonade here. She did her job and then some. Our 4th battle is a lineup of Paris, Cacnea, and Sprigatito. Thankfully, while our one flying type might be off limits, the other is still in the mix. Greens. Salad puts the opposing grass types into the food processor, one-shotting Paris and taking Cacnea low. Now the cactus does have the very scary Destiny Bond, but since he doesn't use it, we can just take him out. Crunchwrap wraps things up again, this time thanks to a nice poison point proc, and as a result, we're more than halfway through this gauntlet. And honestly, I'm having a really good time so far. This is a uniquely thrilling and stressful challenge. I know that I started this video by talking about how tilted I get, but for now, things are great. I'm enjoying the concept of Garbage Gold, I'm enjoying the challenge level, and I'm enjoying the amount of thinking I have to do in each of these fights. As fun as calculus Nuzlocke can be, it's these types of high difficulty calc-heavy Nuzlocke that I really live for. So be sure to remember this moment because things are about to get much worse. I soon find myself on the top floor of Sprout Tower with just one battle left, a showdown against the appropriately named Elder Lee, who's in the midst of a conversation with Bronius. You know, every child's favorite Pokemon character, Great Sage Bronius? The Bronius plushies are always sold out, I'm so sick of it. After they're through with their chat, our match against Lee begins, and I lead with Falafel to rip a confusion that should land an easy kill.
What? Said that was a 93% chance to kill. God is dead.
Well, I guess that was a low roll. As a result, Falafel gets paralyzed and chipped as he takes the KO. Now, this should bring in Phantom, but instead Elder Lee sends out Bellsprout. Confusing, and not what the calc was suggesting, but I'm not mad because this is actually a great matchup as Falafel picks up another KO. But now, surely it's gonna be Phantom, right?
Why is it doing this? And now I don't trust any of this shit.
All right, perhaps that requires some explanation. See, the official, unofficial Garbage Gold Deluxe calculator comes with a neat little feature that tells you the order that enemy Pokemon will come out in based on your current Pokemon. And according to this calculator, Falafel should have immediately baited out Phantom, which logically tracks. Phantom has a super effective Ghost type move into our Spherical Psychic type. This means that either the calculator is wrong about how the game is intended to determine switch order, or the game is bugged for this particular fight. Regardless, at this point, I at least know that Phantom has to come out next, since she's Elder Lee's final Pokemon. Pursuit can't one-shot, so I decide to start with a Poison Sting for a potential poison. Now, that doesn't end up working, but Crunchwrap does land another critical poison point proc. MVP! 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 This is great because it lets me spread around the XP as the poison chip slowly drains Phantom of her second life. Just a few riskless turns later, and we've successfully climbed Sprout Tower, all without overleveling even a single teammate. I mean, the official documentation for this game even says that you'll likely have to overlevel a Pokemon here, so I gotta give myself a Sprouty pat on the back for that one. The reward for clearing the Sprout Tower Gauntlet completely deathless, aside from moral superiority, is a Grass Knot TM and an Oranberry, as well as the most important prize of all, a new encounter. She, by the way, takes 3 Ultra Balls and a sleep just to catch. But anyways, now it's finally time for the last challenge of Violet City. Time to take on Volkner's trainers. I've managed to save Whopper for all of Bellsprout Tower because he's going to be our carry for most of this gym. And with our Chompy Gator's ability to spam super effective mud slaps, there's nothing these trainers can throw at me that I can't handle. Not a flail spamming Toxel, not a dashingly handsome Yamper, not a Wattrel that I accidentally give a competitive boost to. Nope, not worried even a little. It's all sunshine and rainbows with the world's best Nuzlocke at the helm of this deftly built ship. For once, luck is on my side, and that's a great place to be headed into the first official gym fight of the run. Now, I may be able to take him on with my Pokemon at full HP, but Volkner is by far the most difficult trainer we've faced so far. His first 3 teammates are built to punch holes in my squad, softening us up for the final 2 to sweep. First, he has an Electric Seed Grubbin with Sticky Web, ensuring that my pokes will be on the slow foot for the entire battle. Next, Fake Out Mudslap Nuzzle Pikachu forces switches and spreads paralysis. His Voltorb, which has both rollout and self-destruct, is obviously also a huge threat, but the biggest problem is his Shinx, which has our first boosting move of the game, Workup. With Intimidate and Snarl, my stats are guaranteed to be lower, while Shinx can boost his own speed with Trailblaze and spread even more paralysis with Nuzzle. And finally, he has his ace Elekid, a super strong attacker that can become ground immune with Magnet Rise and has the nasty Karate Chop for coverage. Factor in that 3 of his Pokemon also have static, and this is a battle that can easily go wrong in just one unlucky turn. After some much needed prep to build out my team, the clash between the level 6 Titans begins. My answer to Volkner's Grubbin is Salad. We could prevent Sticky Webs with a crit here, but we don't, so I have to settle with taking the kill unscathed a turn later. Next up is Volkner's Voltorb. At this point, we don't know if they're gonna roll out or Thundershock or explode or what, but Salad should be able to handle anything that comes her way. Voltorb does in fact Thundershock and gets a paralysis to boot. Luckily, Salad came with a little extra ingredients this time, but then I have to switch, fearing another paralysis, so I go into Whopper on an Intimidate lowered headbutt. And though Voltorb then proceeds to rip the metaphorical cord on the very next turn, Whopper tanks it nice enough. I'm expecting to see Pikachu come in next, but instead, Elekid. Unfortunately, this throws a bit of a wrench in my plans, though we do got 2 things going for us. First, electric terrain is over, so that's great. And second, we've got a mean oiled machine ready to dismantle Volkner, the newest member of our squad, Hash Brown, who resists all of Elekid's strongest moves. An unfortunate crit forces Hash Brown to eat her berry, but hey, a wasted berry is better than a dead bug, and Elekid does ultimately go down. So that's 3 Pokemon cleared. Unfortunately, this brings in the Pokemon I'm by far the most worried about. The plan here is to weaken this thing with Cinnabon and use my ample healing moves to outlast her. Shinx snarls Cinnabon on the switch, landing a nasty crit, but now it's time for my own charm offensive, literally. Shinx sets up again, which brings her attack back to neutral, and her special attack to +2. And that gets even scarier when I see that Trailblaze already does a whopping 9 damage. So now I have an important question, one based on the adjusted moves of the game.
It should just have the 2 workups, right? Workup PP should be reduced, right? A workup's got 3 PP. 3 PP?
Oh, that's not good. I get off one more charm, lowering Shinx's attack to -2, and that's all the weakening I can do. I keep up my wishes and drain kisses, but no amount of rhyming is enough to circumvent the special attack drops from Shinx's snarls. I'm getting outpaced, Cinnabon is taking a brutal beating, and I desperately need a way out of this situation. There's only one option.
Sweet Kiss. Okay. Okay. You got this, goat. Draining Kiss. Nice! Nice, Cinnabon!
Perfect. But all that work, and we've only just now gotten through Shinx's Oranberry. Draining Kiss is doing pitiful damage, so I need to switch. Fortunately, I do have a good switch into Whopper. Unfortunately, Shinx immediately snaps out of confusion. All good though, Whopper was only here to bait a Trailblaze. Now it's time for Hot Sauce to hit the field. Mud Slap does good damage, but I take a ton of damage from Shinx's +3 Snarl. Nothing can stand up to this monstrous cat. The true manifestation of dread. Now, Hot Sauce should live another Snarl, but it is not riskless. She has to dodge a critical hit.
No crit, no crit, no crit, no crit, no crit. No!
Turns out you can only outrun your legacy for so long. Hot Sauce's death should at least let Salad come in and clean up, except for some reason, he gets slowed by Sticky Web despite being a flying type.
That's a bug.
Luckily, Salad dodges a Snarl, which I can't help but think could have happened one turn earlier. You know, if this world was even a bit just. Salad hits a quick triple tap Bullet Seed to finally take out Shinx, and now all that's left for Volkner is Pikachu. Fortunately for me, I've been saving Lemonade for this very purpose, since she walls Pikachu entirely thanks to Volt Absorb. So like her namesake, she gets the kill, and at long last, we've defeated Volkner. Yay! I guess.
That crit sucks. I mean, knowing that there was a crit there, I guess the better play is to switch. Yeah, I guess I should have switched.
So what you're seeing now is frustration. It's the exact frustration we talked about at the beginning of the video. The type that's all but guaranteed at some point in a Nuzlocke. In other words, it's nothing new to me, especially because I think it's probably my fault for letting the Shinx set up so much. As a great modern poet once said, I just need to shake it off. I send Hot Sauce off to Valhalla to be reunited with her brother.
Wow, fire type's really taking some quick L's.
I really have to get my head back on straight because next up I've got another gauntlet. The prep work for this gauntlet is much more intense than Sprout Tower. While I don't have to deal with grassy terrain, I do have to handle a much more diverse list of challengers. We've got youngsters with fire, rock, and ground types, a bird keeper with flying types, and a stretch of fishermen in the middle with water types. The hardest battle though is probably just the second one. A picnicker who has a knapsack filled with Kebia berries for her fairy types. Without any steel type moves, Poison Sting is really my only way to hit fairy types effectively at this point in the run. So these Pokemons are all real bulky, and Impidimp can make things even worse with Reflect. The second Pokemon, a Ralts, has great coverage against potential weaknesses, but the real issue in this fight is a demonic Togepi that feeds on hopeful trainers and spits out their bones. Wish, Serene Grace, Ancient Power, and a devastating Draining Kiss. How do I know the threat this Togepi presents? Well, it's the Pokemon that ended my run during the release day race. Just figuring out a solution for Togepi alone is hard enough. Finding 6 Pokemon that can also handle every other battle as well seems almost impossible. So it's not long until my sanity wears thin.
Snapple. Snap. Snap.
Each opponent is more diabolical than the last. Each solution seems to shortchange me somewhere else. I prep and calc and swap my Pokemon, but after a while, all I hear is an incessant yapping, the howl of the doomed, seemingly setting my fate. But at some point, there's only so much you can do. I put on a second hat, choose my Pokemon, and head into the gauntlet.
Let's rock and roll.
First up, youngster Albert. Thanks to my held Soft Sand, Nugget lands an easy Oko on his lead Slugma, and at the expense of just a little bit of HP, Salad proceeds to take care of Bulbasaur. First trainer down, 7 more to go. So suddenly, it's time to confront the early run ender, the behemoth, an unfeeling beast without mercy, Liz and her unnamed Togepi. Normally, Crunchwrap would easily carry us through this, but thanks to those Kebia berries, we're SOL. Fortunately, Impidimp is also weak to fairy moves, so it's Cinnabon's time to shine once more. We know that the little devil's gonna go for a fake out, but that actually ends up being moderately beneficial.
Haha, you fell in love with me. Because I'm adorable.
Now, there's a chance that our foe won't get off a Reflect thanks to Infatuation, or just because Impidimp uses Draining Kiss. This is great because we respond back for the guaranteed Oko, and the Impidimp survives with 1 HP. Fake sturdy. No, wait a minute. Did you catch that? I actually missed this brief moment, but that Impidimp did have sturdy. Now, that is actually the ability that's listed in the calculator, but Impidimp is not supposed to get sturdy even in this game. Specifically, the game docs report that this Impidimp's ability is Prankster. So I am totally flabbergasted, but whatever. As a result, Impidimp gets up Reflect, but we're not actually planning on using physical moves, so this is ultimately fine. Next is Ralts, and though Cinnabon does have to use an Oranberry that I was hoping to save, she's able to handle her Fairy-type brethren just fine. So with 2 Pokemon down, you know who's coming in next. After a few turns of trading Draining Kisses, I decide to get a Sweet Kiss off, and though Togepi responds with a kiss of his own, he forgot something crucial. Cinnabon is irresistible.
Is that horny infatuated? Let's go.
Now Togepi is both confused and infatuated. That means he only has a 1 in 3 chance to even attack on any given turn. We might be going tiny mono, a tiny mono, but Togepi is blindfolded, drunk, and spun in a circle. And yet...
Hurt yourself? Infatuated? Cinnabon!
Okay, all good. That did 9 damage and we recovered to 10. According to my calc, only the highest high roll does 10 damage. So I stay in.
Come on. Infatuated. He's infatuated. You're in love. What? Dude, this game sucks.
All right, folks, we have officially entered the tilt zone. I started this video by telling you that this game broke me, and here's where the cracks finally start to show. Fault lines that have been there for months, ever since I first wiped to this very Pokemon. Actually, ever since my game crashed on my very real Nintendo DS. That cursed piece of a legitimate hardware. I am not just frustrated here, I am 102 base power max damage frustrated. Now, this isn't my first death of the run, it's not even my second, but it is the one that's about to change everything. Losing a Pokemon always sucks, but like I said earlier, that's part of the deal, and you have to accept the frustration when you sign the implicit contract to play a game designed around being difficult. But here, a death sucks because I really don't feel like I should have lost a Pokemon. Obviously, I got a lot of bad luck. First of all, Togepi only had a 1 in 3 chance to attack each turn, and on top of that, the Devil hit a 1 in 16 high roll. All that luck added up together is around a 1 in 144 chance for a KO, or just below 0.7%, which is, yeah, it's pretty terrible, but it's still something that could happen. Something I could have anticipated and prepared for. What's really tilting me isn't that. It's something that never should have happened. The sturdy Impidimp. Now, I want to make 3 things clear about this. First of all, the Impidimp is objectively not supposed to have sturdy, and the fact that it does is clearly an error with the version of the game I'm playing. This is not the fault of the creators. They put a ton of hard work into this game, and no matter how hard you try, there will be bugs that happen. Second, I should have realized as soon as I saw Impidimp endured the hit that something was wrong here, and stopped right there to figure it out. But the text moves fast, and I didn't catch it. That's on me. The third thing, though, is that Impidimp sturdy didn't even matter. Cinnabon ended up at full HP headed into the face-off against Ralts, and I did not use a single move that was actually affected by the Reflect. But that's not really the point. The point is that I no longer trust the damage calculator.
I don't understand. Am I getting, that did 10 damage, right? That's supposed to be highest high roll. Like, what the Like, is the calc wrong? It clearly is because the fucking thing didn't die in one shot. God, this sucks. To be clear, the damage calculator is actually not wrong. In fact, because it's seemingly reading directly from game data, it's the only thing that is right. Now, I don't think that it's entirely fair to say that I should have prepared for sturdy Impidimp just because it says so in the calculator. Calcs can be wrong all the time, like it was with the Switch in AI, and common sense says that if the game was playing properly, Impidimp would not have sturdy. Regardless, the seed of doubt has been planted, and in a Nuzlocke where every turn of every battle needs to be meticulously crafted, a lack of trust in one of my most crucial tools is a recipe for disaster, and now I am crashing out. Luckily, Crunchwrap can still do what he does best, poison enemies and end battles, but the damage is done. I am past a healthy level of frustration. Yeah, and it's literally never hurting itself in confusion. Yeah, and of course, like, it's...
I mean, you gotta admit that this is all a little ridiculous, but again, I shouldn't be letting it affect me as much as I am. As a Nuzlocker, I should be bouncing back, figuring out my next move, and honoring poor old Cinnabon after her very unfortunate demise. So why am I getting so tilted by this? Well, we'll get to that, but let's finish out the run first, because spoilers, there's some more of that sweet, sweet suffering ahead. Luckily, my spirits are briefly tilted by this adorable crowd of Bidoof, and that gives me what I need to head into Battle 3. From turn 1 though, you can see the doubt creeping in.
So, Roggenrola is supposed to have weak armor, which means that if we go for Bullet Seed, 2 shots should always kill, because after the first one, the weak armor drops its defense, and this next one guarantees the kill. Allegedly.
I'm paranoid, man. Turns out I don't need to be because Salad does his job perfectly. Next, I pivot to Nugget on an Ember from Vulpix and rip a Rock Smash. To be clear, I actually don't want to KO the dog. This trainer's last Pokemon is a Bright Powder Arena Trap Diglett with Sand Tomb and double flinching moves. Leaving Nugget in is tantamount to sending him to his grave. Instead, I just want to bait the confusion for a safer switch to Whopper, who takes out Vulpix and gets my preferred matchup against Diglett. So from here, I fire off my Mud Slap. Guys, I am really sorry for what's about to happen.
So it is Levitate? No. Something's f***ed up with this game.
Funnily enough, much like the sturdy Impidimp, I did actually notice Levitate Diglett back when I was prepping for the gauntlet, but I once again assumed, as one might, that the calc was wrong. Remember, at this point, I still hadn't realized that missing out on the OHKO against Impidimp was because of sturdy. However, here the ability fluke is much more apparent, and the error is actually sending me into a Sherlock Holmes spiral where I go into sleuth mode, desperate to find any hint as to what the hell is going on. Forget investigating the docs, I'm crashing out so hard that I'm actually joining Discord servers mid-fight and searching Diglett Levitate Y for something to verify that I'm not going absolutely insane. Looking back at this months later, I have to admit that it is pretty funny. I mean, can you think of a single Pokemon less likely to levitate than Diglett? Or hey, maybe I solved what's in that hole after all. Totally empty air. Again, I just want to stress no hate to the creators for this error. This isn't about them or the game. It's more on me for losing my freaking mind. Whopper is still able to KO the levitating Diglett pretty easily, but I am not feeling any better. That said, I still have a gauntlet to play. Luckily, I get a nice relaxing moment here to calm down. The soothing experience of watching Salad and Lemonade slice through poor Fisherman Henry's Pokemon like a trifecta of perfectly cooked fish fillets. And then we can more or less repeat this against the next 2 fishermen as well. I'm forced to use the lone potion I've collected up to this point, but the result is that I soon find myself with just 2 trainers left in the gauntlet. Whopper has to use an Oranberry here, but other than that, he handles the Helioptile nicely. Which means that it's time for... Remember how whimsical and annoying I used to be? There's no Kebia berries to be found here, so Crunchwrap gets a nice poison point and dispatches the dog without taking much damage. And along with some intimidation from Whopper, our supreme little bug claims his umpteenth finish of the run. And yet an easy victory does nothing to turn my mood around.
I don't know how I feel about this game, guys. What is this called? Garbage Gold. It's kind of living up to its name right now.
Jeez, who pissed in that asshole's cornflakes? Not my best moment, and as Nugget clears through the final underwhelming trainer of the gauntlet, I know it.
And I guess in the grand scheme of things, not much was lost. So I'm being a baby, but I don't like... It is what it is.
People put a lot of work into this game, and I'm still really only on my first run, so I should just suck this up and play, right? We've only got a few battles left until Azalea Town, and compared to the Gauntlet, they look like a veritable walk in the park. After a bit of debate, I decide to evolve our boy Tater Tot because our next opponent is the second Kanto gym leader taking refuge, Misty. And since Tater Tot has Trailblaze, he can actually outspeed Misty Starmie after a single boost. But we're not leading with Tot. After Misty cold shoulders us, I send out my usual duo for water-type trainers. Salad does underwhelm by low-rolling Bullet Seed, letting Psyduck rip a Disable, though we're still able to take both Pokemon down, bringing in Starmie and Goldie. Starmie rain dances, which is scary because both of Misty's Pokemon have Swift Swim and therefore outspeed. Just kidding, Goldeen has Cute Charm, as God intended. In this case, that's actually a beneficial glitch, but my tilt is so far askew that it doesn't even matter. As we finish off Misty's remaining 2 Pokemon, a few Poppy Pets help me hold on to the last shreds of sanity I have left. So now there's only 2 areas before we've made it to Azalea Town. Next up, the Icy Chasm Cave. This area grants a guaranteed Spheal from fishing, which I simply cannot pass up, though it'll have to wait until I complete yet another gauntlet. And as a terrified Grovyle tells us, it's a parade of evolved ghost types. The first is a Dusclops with Trick Room, a ton of Bulk, Nightshade, and Rock Smash. And absolutely none of that, including a resistance to bug-type moves, matters in the face of Tater Tot's Fury Cutter. Fury Cutter has actually received a base power nerf in this game by 5 points, but in return, it now has perfect accuracy, making the move far more consistent for sweeping. Tater Tot proceeds to chop Dusclops to ectoplasm even through the burn. Our second ghost-type foe is Runerigus, and here the plan is simple.
It's all you, Salad!
But now comes the real mix-up, Zoroark. And I'm not talking about his tricky illusions that are enough to deceive even those with the most soothing of masculine voices. No, in fact, according to the damage calculator, this Zoroark has Cursed Body. And also in the calc, it's a regular old Unnovan Zoroark, aka not a ghost type. I slowly approach the sickened Pokemon hoping to get a better look, and from here, it does seem like a Hisuian Zoroark, but at this point, I don't know if I can even trust my own eyes. I genuinely cannot express how disorienting it is to try and figure out what you can and can't believe about this game. Fortunately, Whopper matches up well into both forms of the fox, and as the battle starts, the wily trickster is indeed from the ancient time of Hisui. After a super effective snarl, McDouble's able to come in and easily clean up the fight, and as a result, Boba levels up, becoming only our second teammate to try and evolve. But I say no. I still want her as a normal type for the last ghost. It is, of course, Spiritomb, and his dumb dark typing makes this Boba fodder. I fake tears once while I get burned, and then again as Pursuit does basically nothing. Next, Disarming Voice does huge damage. Now, fortunately, my ongoing transformation into the Leaning Tower of Pisa hasn't prevented me from paying attention to Spiritomb's moveset, which includes a pesky Destiny Bond that would kill little Boba if I chose to stay in. So instead, I switch to Lemonade, baiting the move appropriately, and go for my Eerie Impulse while the move is active. One Thundershock later, and Spiritomb is down, prompting another lore cutaway. It takes place in the Distortion world, which is all really cool, except my enthusiasm for this game is waning. Well, hey, at least we can welcome a new party member. Although at this point, just the amount of Ultra Balls it takes to catch this thing is enough to put me in a bad mood. Nevertheless, Snack Wrap the Spheal joins the team, and outside in Azalea's stem, we also pick up Hot Dog the Riolu. Finally, after a brief run-in with Team Plasma, we've made it to the cozy wooded town of Azalea. And as the adrenaline wears off, as I walk around the painstakingly redesigned burrow, I don't know, guys. Like, there's parts of this that I'm enjoying. I feel empty. This town is beautiful. This game is gorgeous, but I can't muster the appreciation it deserves. I'm not giving this game proper credit, and honestly, I want to quit.
Oh my god, you can get Lechonk in this game?
We're so back, baby! If we can get Lechonk, that's gonna last us for at least another split.
Show me Lechonk!
Of course it's Bidoof. Well, I hit her, and then she uses Rollout. That's fine, though. I'll just catch her before things get out of hand, because I've been having really good luck with fast catches. First ball? Nope. Okay, fine. I'll just go into Whopper to resist Rollout and lower our foe's attack. That's nothing for damage. So second ball? Nope. I'm not panicking though. I'll Mud Slap for some damage and even an accuracy drop. Great. Though Rollout does still hit, of course. Here we go. Surely the third ball gets it, right? Nope.
Alright, that's enough of this game.
From here, I turn on my relaxing playlist, I take a deep breath, and then I pull up a catch rate calculator.
That doesn't make sense.
Now, look, it's entirely possible that the catch rate has been changed or that these Ultra Balls aren't actually Ultra Balls. In fact, someone in chat asks that.
Are we sure it wasn't changed?
No, we aren't sure, and that's the problem. Let me talk to you a bit about why I play Nuzlocke. Pokémon is usually, at its core, a hidden information game. You don't know what your opponent has, but you have all the resources in the game to develop a suitable counter. Nuzlocke, and specifically hardcore Nuzlocke of advanced difficulty games, flip that paradigm on its head. You're now given limited resources, in a game like this even more so, and your primary weapon is your knowledge. I spend time crafting routes, planning my way through battles, and even steering based on the information I have. When you take that information away from me, or even worse, give me false information, it steers the game away from one of strategy and skill into one of luck and random chance. It no longer becomes the game I signed up for. This is why I am past a regular tilt. And yet, that's still not really an excuse. Nuzlocke are supposed to test your will. You're supposed to work through that. But here, my will simply broke. And looking back at it, it's embarrassing. I don't like being a bad hang, and people don't like watching it. But I made this video because I think that it's important to show the best and the worst of yourself. To show that I'm not perfect, so that it not only motivates me to become a better Nuzlocker, content creator, and person, but to also hopefully encourage others to do the same. And though I ended up in a bad place, I did learn something. I learned where my breaking point is. I learned more about what makes me love Nuzlocke and what can turn this thing, one of the great passions of my life, into an absolute drain. So while I'm not proud of where I ended up, I am, and it's weird to say this, proud that I quit. For much of my life, I've been apprehensive to quit anything. I've gone through life with this notion that quitting is the same as losing, that quitting is like a moral failing. And at the risk of getting too vulnerable, that mentality has had a huge impact on my life, from staying in relationships for longer than I should have, to finishing a doctorate when I knew early on that I just didn't love it. Life is too short and too difficult to waste time on something you know is a sunk cost. Sure, you owe it to yourself to try your hardest and honor commitments to other people, but sometimes quitting is the better, healthier thing, especially when that thing is a self-imposed challenge run of a children's video game. Nuzlocke are a synthesis of joy and frustration, yes, but at the end of the day, it's a game. They're meant to be fun, and if the frustration outweighs the joy, then it's not a game worth playing. By the time Whopper meets his end, there was very little potential joy left for me in this playthrough, and that means that there's no joy left for you, the viewers, either. That's not the fault of Garbage Gold Deluxe's creators, it was a freak accident. December burnout mixed with the crash in the race, mixed with confusion luck, high rolls, wrong abilities, a bidoof, a miscatch at exactly the wrong time, all resulting in a truly brutal experience. I want to enjoy the games I play, and I want to share that enjoyment with you, the viewer. Maybe someday Garbage Gold Deluxe, a game with tons to love, a great concept, and a uniquely personal touch, could bring me that enjoyment, but not today. If that day does come though, I will let you know. For the immediate future though, let's hope for Nuzlocke full of joy and just the right amount of frustration. And hey, if I ever do play this game again, that frickin' Togepi better watch out.